What's up, guys? So I just got back from Halloween, and my review is mixed, as I am very picky towards Halloween, as some people would know based upon my music. Since I was 17 years old, my inspiration for making music was John Carpenter, and of course there was some Tangerine Dream mixed in and stuff like that. But I'm just gonna go through some quick key points. Instead of this guy directing Halloween, I'm just gonna say right off the bat, the guy who directed It Follows should have done it. Because the style was not up to my standards, and it wasn't as good as John would have directed it if he directed it himself. So it's a little letdown for me visually, but the mask was cool, some of the kills were cool. A lot of filler scenes, because the movie's job is basically to get Michael to Laurie. That's the job of the movie, and you know it right away. You know it even from the trailer. Unfortunately, it's like trailers they couldn't do a build-up and just say Halloween, rated R, or whatever. It's like everyone knows Michael's gonna get his mask. They don't know how he's gonna get his mask, but it's sort of teased how he gets his mask. And then, if you really are someone who's even somewhat intelligent and actually putting two and two together instead of trying to enjoy yourself, you could guess what's gonna happen, actually. Only right now am I thinking about it, because I was just watching. I'm trying to visually examine the style of the movie and the audio. The audio was not very impressive in the movie. I thought that the score was a little quiet. I really wanted to hear some loud, like Halloween type music. That I just watched Halloween in 4K. And I just remember, like, the music was very overpowering in a good way. Like, he was like, if Laurie's walking down the street and her theme pops up, it really sets a mood with his style. And this movie just lacked that style. It's like as if John Carpenter said, hey, I'll do the score. Okay, I'll do part of the score. Here's a couple of tracks. And that's basically about it. It didn't feel like he was really watching the entire movie, because a lot of cues that were so great in Halloween 1 and 2 were gone. The sound effects themselves were changed. They were way worse. I'm not gonna mimic them with my voice, but you'll know what I'm talking about once you see the movie. Go watch the first movie. Go watch 2 even if you want to, even though I know 2's not really related in any way to this. But sound effects wise, you have to pay attention to the score. The score of Halloween 2 is way better than this, that's a letdown for me, even though I sort of expected it. Not hiring Alan Howarth to come in, I don't know if John and him just don't get along anymore or whatever, but man, they did a lot of movies together, and they were the best. They were my favorite, like, synth score duo back in the day, and I've never liked synth score much more, other than maybe Tron 2's soundtrack, like, where it's a mix of orchestra but mixed with synth, Daft Punk stuff, stuff like that. That was badass. I love that soundtrack. Or even like actually Hans Zimmer can do anything. It doesn't anything. So I mean, we got, some of my all-time favorite soundtracks were done by Hans Zimmer. So, but his style is not like John Carpenter's or Alan Howarth's. It's more epic, so to speak. But at the same time, I felt Halloween 2's soundtrack was much more epic versus Halloween 1's. So it was like the epic version of it, whereas Halloween was the subtle version of it. So very original at the time. But then Alan took from what I've heard, he just basically took all the tracks from Halloween 1 and he created like a symphony of synth and mixture of the original tracks. That's why it's so good. It's because he basically, I don't think even John had much input, because number one, John didn't direct the movie. All he did was write it, and he didn't even want to write it. He felt obligated for whatever reason, for the money or whatever. And then he just said, well, here's my tracks, dude, go do what you want. And then for 3, though, they did work on the score together for a fact. I know this, because I've seen pictures of them, and they were syncing the music specifically for scenes in the movie, and you can totally tell, and it was awesome. I loved Halloween 3 soundtrack. I think the movie is far better than people give it credit for, just because it doesn't have Myers. I mean, honestly, I just watched it again. It got far more style in the true letterboxd version, not the crappy VHS version, than even this Halloween. So take that for what it is, I believe. I believe some of the scenes in that movie looked fantastic. Tommy Lee Wallace directed that. So, but like other than that, the only guy I could see as directing it would have been the guy that directed It Follows. I really can't think of his name right now. I want to say David Mitchell. I don't think that's right though. I don't know. I'd have to Google it. Anyways, so I was let down by many things. Visually let down, audio cues let down, soundtrack let down. Not fully let down by. It's not like I was fully like, oh, this is a 1. No, it's very watchable. It's like, it's what Halloween 4 should have been, basically. Because I hated Halloween 4's mask. I hated the actor who played George Wilbur was horrible as Michael Myers. Michael Myers in this is good. Now, I don't know how much Nick Castle actually played Myers or the Shape, but it didn't matter. It all flowed very well together. I think in one scene where there's a lady in her house, and she hears like news of some bad news, and you'll know it even from the trailer that Michael's outside watching in, and then he goes on the side of the house, and then when he pops up behind her, in my opinion, it's a different Michael Myers. I believe it was 2 different actors, because one looked a little bigger, and then one looked a little skinnier to me, and that's just me guessing, because I don't really think they had somebody walk all that way into the house or whatever. That would be something, not that it's impossible to pull off, but the timing would have to be spot on, because as the lady is like, she's on the phone, they don't cut away. Michael walks on the side of the house, and she's on the phone, and she's like, must have hung the phone up or whatever she did. And then she comes over and she walks up to her window like I'm walking to the phone, and then she, for some reason, instead of just pulling the blinds down, she takes like sort of a beat or a pause, and then looks out the window, and in that exact time is when the second version of Michael Myers pops up, which that's my assumption. So I'm just giving you guys notes. Whether or not it's true, who knows? It's just my opinion. And here's the spoiler alert. So do not watch if you want to see this movie, or you absolutely have to see this movie in a theater. Do not watch this part, because this annoyed me. So at the very end of the movie, supposedly Laurie's house is actually a trap. He gets trapped below, and she basically lights the damn thing on fire and literally burns her entire life to the ground. But whereas it could have been redeeming, and actually I'm like, please, just please end it or something, because if you don't end it, then it makes no sense, because she's literally like, I'm gonna kill this guy. He took multiple shots in this movie from multiple people, and he's coming up the stairs, okay? Now all logic is just blow his head off with a gun. Shoot him in the head, and then literally shoot him again in the head with a shotgun. She has like tons of guns lying around. But instead, So he's trying to come up, and he's been taking a beating the whole movie, and he keeps on repeating, you know, like Timex. And then she pulls this lever finally to interlock these like steel things, which almost look like, you know, rods of some sort. So she's like some engineer apparently. Engineers this room that's supposedly you can't get out of once all these things are locked down, and proceeds to light it on fire. It's basically got gasoline lines running into it that you never saw it except for right here. It was like a sort of like a I want to say it was sort of a surprise or a twist. I don't know, because they never talked about it until right this second. And then he basically, you know, falls down there, gets trapped, fire's going, and then instead of actually making that room the only room that catches on fire, this is where I'm a little confused, and I would go as far as to say the movie was kind of stupid in this aspect. Now, obviously, if you light a room on fire like this, that the whole house is most likely going to catch on fire anyways. But no, she actually had most of the house rigged to catch on fire anyways. Not blow up like most movies would do, like some crazy ass huge explosion. No, it literally just was engulfed in flames. Pure flames, you know, wooden house, flames, everything, flames. And then you think to yourself, well, there's no way to escape. There's just no way to escape. He's locked in by bars, and he's basically standing there like this, looking up at them, and there's fire coming just everywhere. And then it cuts away. And I'm like, why? Just show the dude dying, please. End this. And then it goes out, you know, it shows the younger daughter, you know, running out to grab help. There's a car coming. Waves them down, cuts back. And when they cut back to the fire, he is not there. And I'm like, like at least John Carpenter in Halloween 2 had the balls to show the mask burning. Like, you know, he was truly he was died in Halloween 2, guys. Everyone knows this. John wrote it into the script that Michael Myers died in Halloween 2. Obviously, when you erase Halloween 2 and then you replace it with this as the true sequel, he better frickin' die. I don't want no fucking news of a sequel because this movie made so much money. No, it don't work that way. You write a movie to do a specific job. And I believe that in a way it jumped the shark as far as the ending goes by not showing him in the same position that he was in. At least show him fall down on flames. But no, they really didn't even show him on fire at all. They showed the fire coming, and then they cut away. And I'm like, why? Why do this to me? Like, it's just I feel it's sort of insulting to the fans, honestly. It's just like, come on. So then they cut away, and it's like the house is just 100% on fire. It's all on fire. There would be no way to escape. So at the same time, they're alluding to the fact that maybe there is some place he could have gotten out, but yet you just can't assume that. You have to assume that he's dead. You just have to. It's just that they just didn't feel like showing it because just in case. I mean, man, I don't know what to say, guys. Just overall depressed. Just mainly about my car, you know, being in like what seems to be a permanent limp mode. I have to take it into one of my mechanics. Like, I just got the car. I don't even think I put 300 miles on it. Like, we're talking about, I literally drove, I enjoyed the car for like a month. And the short trips that I've taken probably don't equal, I know for a fact they don't equal 500 miles. Because think about it, on my WRX, I had it about 8 months, and I put under 4,000 miles. So there's probably less miles on this than I even think, and it dicked me already. So whereas like I'm like, oh, this BMW, it's a monster. It's like, you know, people don't realize what speed is. Well, I came back to eat those words. because, you know, if it's in limp mode, it's a slow piece of crap. Everyone knows that, like, you do not want to get a BMW that even shows signs of being in limp mode, because, oh my god, guys, this is gonna be the end of the video, but I'm just telling you, like, I bought shocks, okay? This is my luck for serious. I buy shocks for the car because I want it to ride as best as it possibly can, because it had a lot of power. So I'm thinking, all right, with this tune, I'm gonna get the MHD tune stage 1, and I'm going to, you know, get the shocks since I got my Cobb access board back. And then so I ordered the shocks. The day the shocks came, no joke, the day they arrived at my doorstep is the day the car went into limp mode. That's how bad my luck is, and I was not getting on the car when it happened. I was actually mentally thinking about getting on the car right when I put like about 25% throttle on. So like, we're driving around in sport mode, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get on the car, but I didn't, because I didn't have a chance to. Because as soon as I went like this, the car just went pop, and then all of a sudden, it's not really the transmission light, but it looks like a transmission. It goes yellow and says half, which means the car is operating at 50% power. So you go from a 300 horsepower car or a 300 plus horsepower car to like a 150 horsepower dog. So you have no choice but to take the car in, or just drive it like you might as well not have it. You might as well have a piece of garbage. It just does not behave properly. You floor it, nothing happens, and it doesn't matter what you do. It's just like something has shut the turbos off. That's what it feels like, and it's like there's no weird engine noises. It starts instantly. It doesn't really sputter or anything. I wouldn't even say the idle is rough, other than, you know, maybe just a tidge rough. But you know, even my WRX ran rough some days. Like it's smooth enough to start right up. Like, so other guys showing other problems said, like, whenever their car went into limp mode, is what ended up happening is the car would violently shake or whatever, because maybe the car was shutting off cylinders. Like, the car's got a lot of very crazy diagnostic stuff connected to the computer. This is to protect the engine from just blowing up or whatever. The car was just sounding, it went from literally 1 second of being a pure fun and joy to the next being the biggest depressing, stomach ache inducing, just nonstop pit of despair in my life. So that's where I am right now, and I'm gonna go through, I'll probably make additional videos about this just for the hell of it, not because I'm not gonna make any money off these videos or YouTube ever again, period. I know that ain't happen. And I have a PayPal link to, you know, to get donations. Literally one guy donated, you know, maybe like 8 months ago, and that was it. And then I gave him my album for free. So it wasn't even like he didn't get anything. He donated $10 to my channel, and I gave him my album. And then there's people who, you know, like PewDiePie, multi-millions of dollars, that wouldn't even have to worry about problems like what I'm going through right now. So like, I traded my WRX so I have more capital, because the WRX was literally just wasting away. I felt like, now granted, I did waste money on the stage 2, but I did regret it. Like, I would admit I regretted that. But I mean, I test drove the Beamer, it was fine. It's just like, how are you gonna know something is gonna do what it did? There's just no way to know, and I don't even think the dealer that sold me the car knew. But I might tell him about it at least. I might ask him and see what he thinks, because I have software to show me the code that happened, and people say, oh, well, that code could be anything. It could literally be your worst nightmare, or it could be nothing. It could be a vacuum hose. So like, there's just so many things going around in my head that, you know, when you don't know, it's almost worse. At least if I knew, then I could say, all right, well, I'm totally screwed. And then it'd almost be a relief. Like, okay, you're totally screwed. This is what you got to do. And then, okay. Like, God forbid, it's got 46,000 miles on it, guys. I mean, that's nothing. It was garage kept. It ran perfectly. And, you know, I went into the engine deck. It doesn't even have the wastegate rattle. So that's like one of the biggest issues that you know to stay away from, is that if you hear wastegate rattle, do not buy that car, because that means the turbos are garbage. So this car didn't have the wastegate rattle. It doesn't seem to suffer any sort of high pressure fuel pump issues as far as starting. It doesn't seem to have any problem starting or anything. It's just the top works perfectly, the radio's great. Everything's great up until literally this 1 second, and it's so strange. It's just mind-boggling. And the problem with whenever you take your car into anyone is they're gonna say, well, plug this in. No, you don't need to. There is no codes. I erased the codes. A mechanic should not have to look at a code reader in order, like, charge you $100 to plug in the OB2 sensor. That's a waste of money for me. Like, I'll read the code to you. I will tell you what the code is. Now you fix it. So whether or not they have to do like a vacuum test, or, you know, there's some crazy, well, your turbo's blown, then we got serious problems. And then, I mean, the car won't even be fast enough to crash into a wall. Like, I'll have to literally really think about what will happen at that point. I really don't even know. Like, I don't know how much it costs, honestly, to install a turbo. I have no idea. I just know, like, a turbo can be like $2,000. Like, just the turbo itself, the install, who the hell knows that? I heard that's like a 10-hour job. So we're talking about $1,000 possibly in installation. And then who knows what else they mess up. It's like, it gets crazy. It gets crazy. So I at the same time, like, I don't want to think about it, but I can't stop thinking about it, because I wanted to get these shocks installed, and then now I have this to deal with. So it's like, do I send the shocks back? Because, like, what's the point? So there's things that I just don't know. So I have to, like, take the shocks with me to this place and say, hey guys, if you can't diagnose this problem, I'm gonna have to send these shocks back, because what's the point of having a brand new shocks with no power? So the car is gonna have no power. So that, you know, the Cobb access port was to pay for the shocks, and that hasn't sold yet, but it will eventually. It's just that I just wanted to ride around town like, you know, it was brand new. But you don't care what the car rides like when it's a dog, when it feels like it's just something is seriously wrong with it. But it doesn't feel like something's seriously wrong with it. Like, I've heard people with, you know, bad coils, bad injectors, bad spark plugs, it would have fired more codes up, and I didn't have that. I had one crazy backfire sound, just one, and it instantly went into limp mode. So maybe I blew a sensor had blown out or whatever. Like, the sensor just instantly stopped working. This is a possibility. I don't know what I'm talking about though, but somebody said, like, you can have this, there's this one sensor that if it goes, you're not gonna have any power. So there's that. I don't know. My guess is as good as yours, guys. So that's the video. Peace out until next time.